Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I've been coaching men for about 5 or 6 years now, and these are some of the patterns that I have seen that lead to the best results, happiness, success, and peace. There is often in men's self improvement circles a fetishization of what you might call a sigma male or an alpha male. Talking about this kind of stuff, the sigma male grind set, the alpha male mindset, is this guy a sigma male or is he an alpha male? Obsession about the movie American Psycho. I know there's a lot of memes about American Psycho as well as Peaky Blinders, which is this other show featuring, I cannot say this guy's name, but I love his accent. It's like Killian something. I love this actor. But there's a fetishization of the sigma male or the alpha male and almost an obsession with it. I think a lot of people have this idea that if you make yourself an alpha male or a sigma male, somehow you'll be happier, you'll be more successful, you'll be able to take on the world and fuck the world over, and it'll be you versus the world and all of that. I went down this pathway myself. I thought that I had to be the alpha male. I used to be very into the red pill, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's basically just a men's self-improvement corner of the internet, and they have some advice that helped me a lot. They have some advice that led me a little bit astray away from truth and happiness and peace, which are three of the things that I care about. And it seems like most human beings and a lot of you care about. You want to be happier. You want to be more peaceful. You want things to take less effort. That's peace. And you want to be successful. And so I actually did an article on this, like I said, many years ago. I wrote this back in 2019 about how there's no such thing as an alpha male. And what I mean by that is people will look at a bunch of character traits from movies and TV shows, and those people will not be real. It's a construction in your mind. The idea of an alpha male, or the idea that you have in your head of an alpha male, as I said here, is a made-up fantasy. It's the male equivalent of a Disney fairy tale. You put together the perfect character traits. That was a difficult word to say, wasn't it? Someone like James Bond, or someone like the guy from Peaky Blinders, or, the American Psycho guy. I don't know why on the fucking earth you would fetishize a mass murderer or a murderer. That's insane to me, but okay, I understand it. But you fetishize those character traits of somebody, and you think that you have to be that, otherwise you won't get women, or you won't get money, or you won't be happy, or you won't be successful. And as I said in this article, I spent the first few years of my self-improvement journey trying to be the same thing. I thought I had to be this alpha male. I thought I had to be perfect. I thought I had to have all these character traits. But what I came to realize is, first of all, it's not a very effective strategy of going through life. It's quite a lot of effort to be a perfect alpha male or a sigma male, because you're going up against something or a character that is very heavily scripted. Like if you're talking about a movie or a TV show, there is a script, there is a director, there are perfect lines. They get to rehearse and reshoot and retake over and over and over again until they get the perfect shot or the perfect take. A bunch of people are working on it and making sure it's perfect. It's not real life. When somebody is standing in front of you and you're having a live conversation, you don't really have a lot of time to think. You can pause for a couple of seconds and think about what you're about to say, but you don't have hours to think about what to say. You're not getting into character and being perfect and all of that. You are a real person. A writer didn't create your life. And so when I went through this period of a couple of years of trying to be an alpha male or a sigma male, it was very painful. I overanalyzed every single thing that I said. It's where a lot of your questions that, some of you will ask me, they come from that same pressure of like, hey, I'm about to hit on a woman. What do I say? What's the perfect thing to say? How do I phrase this? How do I make sure she doesn't leave me? Some of you women out there, how do I get the guy? How do I make sure he loves me? How do I make sure he's not cheating on me? How do I make sure, how do I force or control? And you don't mean to, but like, how do I get other people to do what I want? And what I found is life is a lot easier when I just be Andy. And I work on being the best Andy that I can be, and slowly over time I improve the Andy. And I eventually get to a point, or it's not even an eventual point that you get to. It's a slow process. It's a journey. It's you improving a little bit every day. And so that's where things like give yourself permission to suck comes from. It's where things like just take a baby step forward comes from. It's why I celebrate all of your little victories. And if you say, I literally just went outside today and went for a walk and I wasn't able to talk to any women. I celebrate that as a small victory. That's amazing. I put my hands up in the air and I say, go you, that's fucking amazing. Tomorrow, let's just do a little bit more. And I take away the pressure for you to have to be this alpha male or this sigma male, or for you women, to always be the good little girl who's perfect and agreeable all the fucking time. No, I give you permission to not always be perfect. You don't have to be a Disney princess and you don't have to be an alpha male. You're allowed to be you. That's more than good enough. And then every day we can work on being a little bit more you, adding a little bit more on top. So let's kind of go through. I've written a whole bunch of notes here of some traits that I've seen with maybe some other like dating coaches and stuff like that. Some people on the internet. I've seen this a lot with movies, obviously, that fetishize the idea of an alpha male or a sigma male. And I think it's very much at the pinpoint of maybe somebody like Andrew Tate, who talks about, being an alpha male, being a sigma male. It's you versus the world. Other people are trying to fuck you over and you have to fuck them over before they fuck you. Have to be a billionaire with a Lamborghini and all of that kind of stuff. I think all of that advice is all contingent on the idea that you buy into the myth of the alpha male or the sigma male or the man that's just perfect and fucks the world over and all of that. But it's predicated on a lie. Like, understand that that's marketing. It's very effective marketing. It works very well, but it's predicated on a lie. So let's go through and maybe clear up a little bit of this stuff. So the first thing that I will say is you don't have to be a lone wolf. In fact, you will achieve more if you let other people help you and you in turn help them. Camaraderie, working together, and teaming up means that, that saying 2 heads are better than 1 comes true. There will be problems that you have in your life or things that you struggle with or things that you're uncertain about. And if you let other people help you or you directly ask for them to help you, and then you reciprocate by helping them as well. But if you ask them to help you, now the 2 of you or the 3 of you or the 5 of you or the 20 of you or the 100 of you can sit down and come up with a solution. And you will literally come up with a solution infinitely quicker. A big thing that happens in my coaching program is people come to me after years or sometimes a decade or so of being the lone wolf. And I've done interviews on my channel about exactly this topic. See this video at the top here that says, don't be a lone wolf. That was an interview that I did with one of my old coaching clients a few years ago. And when and he's not the only one, this is a very common thing, as a men's self-improvement coach, this is a very common thing. He came to me and he had been the lone wolf all his life. He had done everything by himself and he had achieved quite a lot. He'd done a really good job of being a lone wolf. And I said, mate, you've done an amazing job. Do you think this is now the chapter where you be the wolf who's part of a community or part of you don't have to be a wolf. It's not a fight, but fine. If you want to be the wolf, you can be the wolf who lets other wolves help him. And you can achieve your goals with other people and you'll see that you'll get more done. And it was really difficult for him at first because you have to let go of pride and ego. It is pride and ego that says, I'm a lone wolf. And I'll get to that in a second. None of you are a lone wolf. I'm not a lone wolf. We've never been a lone wolf. And like I said, I'll cover this later in this video. The entire world right now is supporting you. And you push all of them aside and say, no, they're not. I'm by myself. It's me versus the world. Okay, who's putting the electricity on right now? Who's keeping this laptop or this phone that you're listening to this on? Who's keeping that running for you? Did you do that yourself? No, you didn't. Who's putting the food in your mouth at the supermarket and the supply chain and all of that? Did you do that? Did you work on the farm? No, you didn't. And so the entire world is supporting you, but you say, no, they're not. It's me versus the world. So I'll cover that in a second. But for now, this guy, and like I said, he's not the only one. I've worked with probably like 50 coaching clients. It's very common who come to me and say, I want to be, or I've always been the lone wolf. And we slowly show them that they achieve literally 10 times more with other people's help. And even with a small, coaching program like mine, it's quite a close-knit group of very close people. They will achieve, like, in 1 month, they'll achieve stuff that took them 4 years before by themselves. And they'll go, holy fuck. And more to the point, they'll be more consistent because if you're ever in a rut, other people can lift you up. It's like a brotherhood or a sisterhood. They can pick you up and say, hey, we will help you. We can make you feel better. We can encourage you. We can show you that you're okay. We can push you to get back out there. When it came to approaching women, I tried to do it by myself for a while, and I did most of the approach anxiety program by myself. But then when it came time to hit on women, I tried to do it by myself, and it was very terrifying. And so what I ended up doing was getting a few friends, and we would literally always go out together multiple times a week and just talk to women. And that was so much easier. When I first wanted to go to the gym, this is like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago or something, I was utterly terrified to go to the gym. And I tried to go to the gym for like weeks and months at a time, but I just kept procrastinating. I was really scared and intimidated. And eventually I reached out to my best friend and I said, mate, I'm too scared to go to the gym by myself. I've tried for the last few months. Would you go with me? The first day, you don't have to do anything. I just want to watch you work out. And is that okay? And he was like, holy shit, mate, I had no idea. I didn't know that. Yeah, of course we can go to the gym together. And I went with him maybe the first 5 times, and then I was comfortable. I was okay being alone in the gym. And so there's no shame in asking for help. In fact, you will get 10,000 times more done. You have more gratitude. You have people who can pick you up when you're down. And this idea of the lone wolf is vanity, it's pride, it's ego, it's narcissism. And it feels really good to say, I did everything by myself. But it's like, you've never done anything by yourself. You've just told that lie that you've always been by yourself. But your family raised you and birthed you. You didn't do that. School taught you, regardless of your feelings about the education system, school taught you a lot about the world. Other people taught you about the world. Your friends influenced you. The government, to some degree, and the media and all of that influenced you. So many people helped raise you to be the person that you are today. You've never been the lone wolf. You've just told this story that it's you versus the world. And like I said, we'll get onto that in a second. But the next thing I see a lot in, quite a few men's self-improvement and men's dating and sex advice, and in the obsession with the alpha and the sigma males, I see a lot of people that say women are the other. There's some weird thing that you have to study and learn about, or you have to do different techniques compared to what you do when you just hang out with men. And women get this same sort of treatment. Lots of female dating advice says men are weird and they're different, and you have to do this and do this, and you have to do something special to get them. And I had a big realization, after several years of thinking that way myself. I finally had a big realization where I was like, holy shit, women are just human beings with a pussy. In other words, they're just human beings who happen to have some biological differences, but they're still human beings. And I have more, or we have more in common with each other than is different. There is more overlap between men and women than there are differences, but people will focus on the differences. They do the same thing with race and everything else. They will focus on the differences and blow them out of proportion. But women are on your team. They're on team humanity. And this obsession with, it being a boxing match, dating being like a combat sport, it's me versus them. I have to get what I want from them. I have to manipulate them. I have to say the right thing to them. Or some of you feel like women, and some of you women feel like this about men. You feel like the opposite gender is scary. And you're like, I don't understand them. What if they bite my head off? What if they reject me? What if they say something to hurt me? They're human beings, and the vast majority of human beings are nice. Some of them are a little bit in pain, and so they might lash out to you. That's okay. We have compassion in our hearts for them, and then we move on and we don't talk to them anymore. And we go and talk to the people that are nice to us. But the vast majority of human beings are very nice. The vast majority of women are very nice. Any of you men listening will be able to attest to this. The vast majority of men are very nice. And we care about humanity. We care about being kind to other people. And so it's you and them together. It's not you versus them like it's some sort of combat sport, or like you have to get one over or get what you want from them. Another thing that I see a lot is this obsession with being mysterious and unknowable. Like you have to keep your cards close to your chest. You can't be honest. You can't tell the truth. You can't just say what you want. You have to have sneaky ways of saying things, or you have to obfuscate or hide the truth. You have to say what people want to hear or what you think they want to hear rather than the actual truth. But no, I have found that life is a lot more beautiful if I can just be autistically honest and say exactly what I want and be upfront and be real and mix that with a little bit of compassion. You don't have to be blunt and unkind, but mix honesty with some kindness or compassion. And say exactly what you want, screen for the people who want the same thing as you, and then you build a life based on honesty, truth, and like I said, compassion, and not forcing or manipulating anyone to do what you want. You do not have to spend your life hiding the truth. In fact, the truth shall set you free. I have done so much content on honesty, and if you struggle with honesty, that's okay. I used to struggle with honesty too, and so you can go onto my website and just search for the word honesty or ideal, and you'll see this article I wrote called Honesty is an Ideal That You Work Towards. I wrote this many years ago, like over 4.5 years ago, and I talked about the fact that I used to be very scared to be honest and upfront. It was really terrifying. And so in this article, it's a very long article. I literally wrote about like my entire history with honesty and dating and sex. Like it's really long. Look how fucking long this is. I went into a lot of detail. I talked about how terrified I was and how I just slowly over time practiced being a little bit more honest. And I talk about how I shared things with women. I ask women about what it was like to be them. That is how I came to see that the vast majority of women's lives are very similar to the vast majority of men's lives. We're all just human beings. I didn't just make that up. I asked literally hundreds of women. And so go out there and find the truth rather than reading what some guy on the internet told you or some movie character that you saw who's completely fictional and not real. I even say this about my content. Don't just believe me. This isn't a cult. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you have to believe me. I don't want you to just believe me. Truth is something that you often have to find for yourself or discover or feel or experience for yourself. A lot of truth is experiential. You will believe me if I say it, or you'll partially believe me on a logical, like from a logical point of view. You will logically believe me if I say something, but it's not quite the same as having experienced it, is it? I think a lot of us know that. We'll say, look, I know this logically, but I just don't feel it. So go out and feel it. Go ask 100 women what their life is like and ask them deep questions. And that article that I just pointed out to you, again, it's called Honesty is an Ideal That You Work Towards. This article, I literally ask them really deep questions. And in here, I talk about what questions you can ask them. Like, what is it like to be a woman? What do you think it would be like if you could be a man for a day? What's your conceptualization of men? What do you think it's like for me and us to be a man? When you think of men, what do you think of? What are the values that come to you? You know, is it strength? Is it responsibility? What is it? When you think of women, what are the values that come to you? Is it like grace? Is it love? Is it like feminine energy? What does feminine energy mean? Like, ask some really deep questions. And I have all of those written in this article. And so basically, the point that I'm getting to here is that women are on your team. And for you women out there, men are on your team, or they're allowed to be. You're allowed to have them on your team. And you're allowed to be upfront and have a life based on honesty, truth, compassion, and connection with other people, rather than saying you're not connected to anyone else. On that same note, it's not you versus the world. The world or women or men or whatever it is that you blame, some external force, the government, whatever. The world is not trying to fuck you over. We're not trying to fuck you over. We never have. The world was just doing its thing, and you told a story that you were the victim and everybody else was the perpetrator. And people love that narrative, don't they? If you turn the news on, all you'll see is the narrative of victim perpetrator. Russia, Ukraine. Okay, Russia's the perpetrator, Ukraine is the victim. You look at Israel and Palestine. I don't even know which one of them is telling the story that they're the perpetrator and the other one's the victim right now. I don't know which way that goes. I don't really follow wars or any of that sort of stuff because it's petty squabble. And in reality, it takes two people to tango, and yet people will tell the story that I'm the victim, they're the perpetrator, and both people will point at each other and say, no, they're the perpetrator, and get very, very, very prideful in being a victim. There's vanity in being a victim. And so if you've been telling a story that it's you versus the world, understand that that's narcissism. The world doesn't care about you that much. The world just isn't interested in you. There's been 111 billion people that have been born on this planet since, life existed on this planet. Countless other organisms and forms of consciousness in the form of animals, insects, plants, etc. Who knows how many other planets there are out in that massive void or that massive area that we call the universe? Who knows how much life is out there? The universe really doesn't give a fuck about you in the way that you think they do. The universe loves you. The world loves you and supports you, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the world isn't out to get you. You're really not that special. But it's the narcissistic ego or the vanity of the ego that says the world is out to get me. I'm a Sigma male. It's me versus the world. I got a chip on my shoulder. Ever since I was young, people were trying to fuck me over. And I know that it's narcissism and ego and vanity because I felt all of that. I told that story. A lot of this stuff that I'm talking about is my personal journey. I literally believed or told the story that I was the lone wolf, that it was me versus the world. It's why I got so sucked into the alpha male fantasy and all of that, or the Sigma male fantasy of it. It's going to be me versus the world. I'm going to fuck everyone over. I'm going to make tons of cash. I'm going to fucking smash a whole bunch of women, and I'm going to prove that I'm a top G. Like, that was very appealing to me. It appealed to my vanity and to my ego and to my narcissism and the story that I was special, or that I was especially fucked over by the rest of the world. But in reality, the entire world is supporting you, even if you don't know it. Right now, the entire world is here for you. We all love you that much. Supermarkets, think about the food that you get to put in your mouth. How many hundreds of thousands of people have to come together for you to be able to go to the local supermarket or grocery store and buy some food? There are farmers. There are people that drive the trucks. There are countless people involved in the farming process. There are people that make fertilizers, people that deliver the water there. There are people that made everything that the farmer even takes for granted, all of the machinery. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people involved in just the farming process alone. Think how many people were involved in the agricultural revolution back in history, back in the early days. Oh my God. And how many people needed to help those people in order for them to have an agricultural revolution. Think about how many people are involved in you having electricity right now and being able to listen to this podcast and my voice either through your phone or through your laptop. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over time have come together to help deliver electricity to you and me. If you have a car and you drive, how many people are involved in that car, the manufacturing process? People like Henry Ford, who made the first automobile. At least I think it was Henry Ford. I'm pretty sure it was. He at least made the like factory system, whatever you want to call that. All the people that come together to make your car, the people that make the roads, the people that lay down the bitumen or the pavement or whatever you want to call it. Like, all of that stuff, all of those people have come together to support you and me. The phone or the laptop that you're listening to this on. Oh my God, how many people are involved in the process of making a, I guess pun intended, processor? How many people are involved in, I know you're not really using the graphics card to listen to technically you are. I'm getting very nerdy here. How many people are involved in all the different parts of your laptop or your phone? A lot of people, millions of people. How many people are supporting you right now with giving you advice? Me. Other people on the internet that you take advice from. There are so many people that write books that lots of you have read, or they will make inspirational movies that get you fired up. Like, how many people, a lot of you like the movie Rocky. I love the movie Rocky. How many people were involved in making that movie? Probably fucking 1,000 people or so helped make that movie. And then how many people helped support all of those people themselves individually? And so the whole of humanity, literally millions or billions, or you could just say all of humanity since the dawn of time, is here supporting you. But you tell a story that they're not, and you feel a little bit ungrateful for all of the beauty and the assistance and the support and the love that you're currently getting. And you tell the story that you're all alone, and it's okay. There's no need to feel guilty about the fact that you're ungrateful for all the people that have helped you. Most people are. Most people tell a story that they're unloved, and it's like, that's just not fucking true. Most people tell a story that they're all alone. That's not true. Most people tell a story that no one cares about them. All of society cares about you. Nobody's obsessed with you. Nobody's obsessed with your narcissistic ego. Sure, you're not that special, but the whole world loves and supports you. We all gather around and support each other. Even all the people that you get mad at or frustrated by, they are here to teach you forgiveness, compassion, patience, humility, and stoicism. So even the people that you hate are here to teach you something, or hopefully teach you something if you're there to listen and to learn. And so it's never been you versus the world. It's always been you and the world together. You're not alone. We're all here for you, and we've always been here for you. Another lie that I see, or another, I guess, story that I see, with some of the men's self-improvement on the internet and the obsession with the alpha male, is getting things. People will say, I have to get this car. I have to get sex from women. For some of you women, I have to get a relationship out of a man. I have to get commitment. I have to get resources. I have to get. You don't have to get, you are allowed to give. And when I say that, some people go, oh, fuck, I can't give. If I give, then I'll lose. That's not how giving works. When you give, if you're giving wholeheartedly and with no expectations and no strings attached, just giving for the sake of giving, then you benefit. The person who gives receives way more than the person who receives. Like, abso-fucking-lutely. If you want more advice or you want to go down that rabbit hole and learn more about that, just read all of Mother Teresa's books. She was the definition of someone who came to this earth to give. And look at all the beauty that it gave her in her life. And if you want the ultimate hilarious proof of that, when she died, in her bank account, in her personal bank account, she had $150 million, which she never spent and never touched at all. She never touched a cent of that. Like, personally, it went towards her charities and all of that, and then her church and all of that. And so this was a woman who had no interest in money. Money wasn't interesting to her other than to buy food and resources and stuff for the people, the homeless and, people in poverty that she was trying to help. And so focusing solely on giving, she technically made $150 million. Isn't that fucking insane? That's what happens when you give. A lot of you are here literally just because I give to you. I've poured my heart and soul over the last 5 years to give. Why do I give? Because the person before me, Chris from Good Looking Loser, taught me to give. And he literally had articles saying when you give, if you just give wholeheartedly, it comes back to you, especially if you have no expectations of it coming back to you. You're just giving wholeheartedly for the sake of it. But if all of this talk about giving doesn't resonate with you, if you feel right now, Andy, I don't have enough to give, that's okay. I understand. There's still always something that you can give, even if it's just a little bit of kindness to other people or compassion to yourself. If you feel like you can't give to other people, then give to yourself. Put on your own oxygen mask before you help other people with theirs. How do you give to yourself? You do things that will help you with your self-love, like looking at yourself in the mirror every day and saying, I love you, or writing a list of 50 things about yourself that are likable, or dedicating yourself to self-improvement, like completely surrendering to and basically becoming a religious zealot about self-improvement and making your own life better and chasing honesty and truth and compassion and love and all of their various different forms. But if all of that doesn't resonate with you, instead of using the word get, you can use the word share. And so this is me basically saying you are allowed to share in great sexual experiences with women, or any women listening, with men. You're allowed to share with people that you receive money from. You're allowed to share in those great experiences. You don't have to focus on getting or taking or manipulating or using or extracting resources from other people. You are both allowed to come together and both benefit. You are both allowed to win. Life is allowed to be a win-win for you and everybody else around you. And what do you think happens when you combine all of the things that I've talked about here so far? When you combine gratitude for the rest of the world and realizing you're not alone and it's not you versus the world, and then you combine that with giving or sharing with other people, and you combine that with kindness and compassion and looking for the similarities between you and other people rather than obsessing about the differences. If you focus on win-win and you want everyone else around you, or as many people as possible, to win as well as you winning, what do you think happens? The entire world starts to eventually really fucking support you. It starts out small. It starts with the one or two people that you've had a positive influence on, and they say, wow, what can I do for you? Or they'll come out of the woodwork and just do things for you that you weren't expecting in unexpected moments. Or they'll send you messages of gratitude and compassion and love. I am doing a coaching call with someone about half an hour from now who literally said, and I'm reading out the exact email that he wrote, frankly, I would happily just give you $200 for the help that your content has given me already. And this is not a rare thing. So many people sit down with me for one of those little $200 coaching calls, and they say, I don't need anything from you. I just want to say thank you. I'm giving you $200 for free to say thank you. And I always coach them anyway. I like to give a lot of value because that brings me a lot of joy. I'm doing that for me more than them. But I have had probably 50 people over the last couple of years just give me money and say, here you go. Here's a whole bunch of money. Thank you. I don't need anything. I just wanted to say thank you because you've given me a lot. So many people will be there for you in your times of, maybe a low moment or some time that you want something or that you need something. They'll be there for you because you were there for them and because you focused on win-win. But if you focus on win-lose, as in I'm trying to win and everybody else loses, I want to push other people down, I want to use them, I want to get what I want to extract resources, I want to take, you just end up making a whole bunch of enemies. You make a whole bunch of people that don't want you to win. Probably the best example of this is, I know I brought him up twice, and none of this is meant as hate or judgment or any of that, but Andrew Tate is a pretty visceral example of this right now. He's basically taken on the whole world, and what do you think happens when you do that? The whole world wants to see you fail. If you make enemies with the entire world, they want to deplatform you, and that's what's happened. They want to put you in jail, and that's what's happened. The entire world wants you to lose when you go to war with them. But if you instead see that the entire world is with you and you have love for the whole world, and that's something that you can work on, you don't have to just wake up one day and have that mindset, you can slowly build it, then the entire world wants you to succeed. And that's someone like Mother Teresa or any of these sort of people like Gandhi, people like that. And so focusing on win-win ultimately is an easier, more effective, smoother, nicer, kinder, compassionate, and more effective tool of navigating life and getting the thing that you ultimately want: success, happiness, peace, love, whatever it is that you want. Something that relates to this is that Sigma and Alpha male like stereotypes are often very prideful. There's a lot of arrogance and narcissism in there, and pride can be very helpful to a point. Humility, gratitude, and ability to work well in a team match really nicely with pride. If you have pride in your work or the effort that you do, that's almost a form of love. If you have pride in yourself, like I have put in effort, I've dressed myself really nicely, I've worked on my, body, or I've worked on this, like pride in the effort that you've put in, it's almost a form of love. But if we're talking about pride in the form of narcissism or ego, I'm better than the rest of the world, I don't need the world, it's me versus the world, that's only narcissism. That pride or that narcissism has blind spots. There's a lot of things that you don't recognize when you're too busy trying to say that you know everything or that you're the expert or that you're the best in the world. You will have weaknesses or areas of improvement. But if you're so busy defending yourself and saying I'm the best or I'm full of pride and my ego and all of that, like I'm the best in the world, you don't notice your areas for improvement because you're too busy trying to hide them. And so you literally don't learn. You also make it way harder for other people to teach you and help you, because you're too busy saying that you know everything and you won't listen. I've had plenty of coaching clients in the past that have had a little bit of that prideful narcissism, and we've had to gently have conversations with them about humility. What that looks like is I've had some clients where I will try and teach them something and I'll say, hey, like, would you like to try this? This is the next step. Let's go do this. And they'll say, no, that won't work. And I'll say, okay, well, which one of us has been doing this for, 6 or so years at this point? Is it you or is it me? And they'll say, okay, it's you, Andy. And I'll say, okay, the truth of it is, yes, I can't 100% know that this will work for you. But I have a very strong feeling that it will, based on the 500 other clients that I've ever worked with, and it worked for all of them. Would you like to at least try it? And they'll go, nah, I really don't think it'll work. And I'll go, okay, so that's narcissism, that's ego. Ego or narcissism is that voice that pikes up and says, I know this won't work. I know better. I know everything. I'm the expert, especially for stuff that you haven't actually tried. And so I will gently teach those clients humility. And then when they go and try it, lo and behold, it works. And they go, holy fuck, I was wrong. Pride, like narcissistic pride, never wants to say that it's wrong. And the whole idea of a Sigma or Alpha male, a lot of the time, there's a fetishization with never saying that you're wrong or never looking weak or never looking like you don't know everything. There's almost this obsession with keeping up a mask and an appearance of knowing everything and being the expert and always being correct. And that gets very tiring. That becomes very exhausting because that must be defended at all costs and at all times against everyone who wants to tell you the truth. Falsehood needs to be defended. If you're incorrect about something, you need to defend that, often to the death. And sometimes people will happily die on a cause rather than admit that they were wrong. That's just the way that the ego, or the narcissistic part of the ego, the narcissistic part of our brain, it wants to work like that sometimes. The ego would rather die than be wrong sometimes. And so it can take a fair bit of humility to say, you know what, maybe I'm not always correct. It's why you'll hear me say a lot, I don't know, or I'm not telling you what to do, or I can't guarantee this will work. Go out and try it and see if it does work. It's why I would say I always try and put myself in the position of student. I'm here to learn along with all of you. I'm not the expert. I'm not the teacher. Yes, I have been doing this for a long time, and I've found a whole bunch of stuff that seems to work pretty well for most or all of my clients and for myself and for my friends. But that doesn't make me the expert. I just know a little bit more than all of you, or some of you, not all of you. But I know a little bit more than some of you. But that doesn't make me correct all the time. It doesn't make me universally, like I don't have a monopoly on the truth. That's something else to think about. A lot of alpha male or sigma male dating coaches and just people in general will say that they have a monopoly on the truth. You know, they'll say, you're in the matrix and I can help you break out of the matrix. I have the truth. Everyone else is lying to you. I have the truth. I would be very wary of someone that says they have a monopoly on the truth and that their advice is the only advice that works. Because something that I discovered a long time ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, is there are often multiple ways to achieve the same goal. There are different pathways to success. And so just because something worked for me, Andy, that doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. That's why I often start with the question that I say to all of you and to my coaching clients, what do you want? You know, what would make you happy? What would bring joy and love and peace to your life and the lives of other people around you? It doesn't matter what I, Andy, have done. It doesn't matter what brings me joy. That's what worked for me. But what would you like? Because what you want is going to be different from what I want. And the way that you get there is probably going to be different from the way that I got there. You have your own unique likes and dislikes and preferences. You're your own person. You're going to have your own strengths and, you know, things that maybe could do with some work. You're not me. You're not a carbon copy of me. I've done podcasts where I say, I don't want you to be a carbon copy of me. You're not going to be. You're your own person. You're your own man or your own woman. But the alpha male or the sigma male vanity creeps in and people just want a carbon copy of themselves. Like, that's how you know you're dealing with narcissism or ego, if they just want you to be a copy of them, or if they say that what they're saying is correct. And what you'll find is that pride and ego and that chip on the shoulder idea of like, it's me versus the world, you know, the lone wolf alpha male, that makes other people less likely to help you. A book that talks about this in great detail, and one of my favorite books of all time, is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And this guy was a US Navy SEAL. He is an absolute beast of a human being. I mean, look at this guy. This guy is just like pure fucking muscle. Look at that guy. Very serious face. I like Jocko Willink a lot. He's such a nice person, even though you'd look at this face and be like, bro, that's not a nice face. Like, he looks like he's going to bite my head off. He's just like so full of love and all of that, even if he would probably not phrase it like that. But he just has such an uplifting, positive message. And so his book, again, it's called Extreme Ownership, talks about how to work with people on a team, because that was what he had to do in the Navy SEALs. And now he gives business advice and he does consulting. And he and his, like, I guess you would say, co-business owner, Leif Babin, who's the other guy who wrote this book. They wrote the book together. They also served in the Navy SEALs together. Leif was under Jocko. They go to businesses and they do consulting and they get in there with businesses, sometimes like multi-million-dollar businesses or $100 million businesses, very high up businesses. These guys are like very fucking like famous and they've done TED Talks and stuff. They will go into these massive businesses and basically teach them leadership skills. And one of the first leadership skills that they teach people is you have to work in a team and stop being so narcissistic and stop being the lone wolf. Most of the time, what happens is they will come into a new business and the higher up people, the CEO and the board of directors and the vice presidents and all of that will say, all of our employees are the problem. Go and talk to them. They'll go talk to all of the employees for the next 1 or 2 days and they'll just gather feedback. And then they'll come back to the vice president and the board of directors and the CEO and they'll say, hey, tell me about this. Everyone's repeating the same problem. Tell me about this. Tell me about this. Tell me about this. And they'll go through every complaint that all of the low-level employees had, And what almost always seems to be the case is that it was the higher ups that refused to play nice and treat everybody else like they were on the same team. The higher ups were trying to be the alpha male, sigma male kind of, mindset of like it's us versus the employees. And what Jocko Willink and Leaf will do is teach them you have to learn to work on a team. Learn to embrace and respect the people that are below you on the hierarchy. Learn to love them, learn to listen to them, and all of that. So, again, that book is called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. It is one of my favorite books of all time. And it talks to you that this is basically the antidote to the alpha male and the sigma male obsession. And again, who better to teach that than a guy that looks like this and was in the Navy SEALs and gives leadership advice? Like, this guy is a fucking hunk of man. His podcast is really great as well, but he's kind of the antidote to that feeling or that idea, that vanity of I want to be all alone, it's me versus the world. So he's a really good antidote to that. I want to make it really clear that yes, a healthy self-esteem and a little bit of pride in one's effort can be helpful. With all of this, I'm talking more about like the arrogant pride that says it's me by myself. No one else is helping me. I'm better than everyone else. I'm the top G, all of that kind of stuff. It's that narcissism. And eventually what you will find if you keep dedicating yourself to honesty and to truth is eventually gratitude replaces pride anyway. And you don't need pride anymore because you acknowledge the truth, which is that you didn't achieve everything on your own. Other people helped you. As I said before, a whole bunch of people are currently helping and supporting you. And you realize all of the things that I only know because somebody else told them to me. I only know because mentors, me, Andy, maybe I'm giving you advice, other people that you follow are giving you advice. All of that came from other people. And then gratitude and a sense of camaraderie, a sense of feeling like you're in a family, replaces that narcissistic vanity that says, it was all me, I did everything by myself, and I'm a lone wolf. You can tell that story, but it's not true. And so if you go in search of truth and telling the greater picture, like zooming out and telling the whole story, you realize that, oh shit, gratitude is maybe something that I want to, it just naturally comes up. You don't even mean to be more grateful. You just finally acknowledge the truth that you didn't do all of this on your own. People raised you, people taught you things, people helped you, people gave you advice, people coached you, people were there for you, people listened to you when you were sad, people gave you a motivational pep talk. Maybe even if all you had was a bunch of music that motivated you, they helped you. The artists themselves helped you. They didn't even know they were helping you with their music or their movies or whatever inspired you. And so lots of other people helped you. So you have gratitude for them and for the gift of existence itself. Because even if you think you did everything by yourself, which you didn't, but even if you think you did, you certainly didn't ask to be born, and you certainly didn't do anything to be born. And so by virtue of simply being alive, that is a gift that you didn't ask for, but was graciously given to you or given to us. And so you can have gratitude for that, gratitude for the opportunities that you have in life and in being alive and in being a conscious being. I think I will blitz through the last few notes that I've written here because, like I said, I have a coaching call in about 15 minutes. Something else that I see a lot with the alpha male and sigma male obsession is they're very angry, very unhappy. And it's funny to me that people fetishize that. It's like, I want to be angry and sometimes violent and sometimes dangerous and just generally unhappy. I don't know about y'all, but that used to be very appealing to me, but these days I look to the people that are peaceful and happy because I go, holy fuck, that looks easier. I get to have all of the things that I want. I get to share in all of the beautiful things that I want to share in, and I can do that effortlessly. Yes, please. I don't want the drama and the vanity, the narcissistic ego stroking of being angry and forceful all the time. And so there can be an obsession with alpha males and sigma males of force to get what you want, like using force to get what you want, using anger, using sometimes violence. Again, a movie that people seem quite obsessed with is American Psycho, which is literally a parody of various things, but it's a parody of the very movie that people worship, or the very idea that people take away from that movie, which is that violence is something glamorized and beautiful. That movie was literally a parody. Go and look up interviews with the director or the guy that wrote it. It is literally meant as a parody. And yet people point to it and go, wow, that's great. I want to be just like him. And it's like, holy fuck, that was not the point of the movie. And obviously People can take away whatever meanings they want from a movie, but it was designed to be a parody of violence and that glamorization of it, and also of corporate culture and stuff like that. But it was designed as a parody of that. And so you don't have to be angry and forceful to get what you want. Anger can be helpful initially for some people if you're depressed or if you're right down on the bottom of what is called the map of consciousness. And I've covered the map of consciousness many times. This was made by a clinical psychologist, a guy called David Hawkins, who also became a spiritual teacher later on. But he was a clinical psychologist, and this is basically a mapping of all of the different categories of human emotions. And obviously, the lower down, I think it's pretty obvious, but the lower down you are on this map, or the predominant feelings that you're feeling, let's say you feel a lot of guilt and shame right down there at the bottom, that makes it a lot harder to actualize the life that you have in mind, to achieve success, to be happy, compared to the emotions at the top, or the states of being, you might say, the states of consciousness at the top. Let's say you walk around feeling complete peace and joy, and nothing bothers you, and you're just grateful to be alive, and you love everyone equally, and you just feel like, man, life is beautiful. You're almost like a Buddhist monk, or you are essentially a Buddhist monk. It's a lot easier to take action, isn't it? If you're feeling peaceful and joy and love, think about in your own life times when you felt just unbelievable calm or peace, or you feel like everything's okay, or you just have nothing in your life that's stressing you out. It's way easier to take action. It's way easier to go to the gym, to go outside and talk to women if that's what you're into, to go to your job and do a great job, to hang out with your friends. That's easier compared to if you're feeling lots of shame and guilt. Shame makes you not want to leave the house because you feel ashamed to leave the house, or just you feel ashamed to exist. And so it's pretty obvious that you probably want to feel more of the emotions that are a little bit higher up on the map. But if you look where anger is right there in the middle, because anger is a little bit more powerful, or allows you to achieve more success or work on your goals or take more action compared to something like shame. A lot of therapists, if you come to them with shame, they will try and get you to feel a little bit of anger, not towards other people, but like just anger in general. They say, aren't you angry that you've, spent your life the way that you've spent it? Aren't you angry that other people are happy and doing cool things? Doesn't that piss you off? They want you to feel a little bit of anger temporarily, not permanently. They want you to feel a bit of anger because that's motivating. That will help you take action because it moves you up the map of consciousness from right down there in shame or fear or grief. Grief is like sadness and crying and all of that. And so anger can move you up, but it's nowhere near as high as things like acceptance or reason or love, stoicism. Stoicism is somewhere between love, reason, and acceptance. It's kind of all of those things. And so the higher up on this map you are, the easier your life is and the easier it is to achieve goals. But let's make it very clear that anger can be very beneficial at the start because it can lift you up. Anger lifted me up because I used to be down in guilt and shame. I felt too ashamed to ever talk to women. And then I went through the red pill phase and felt very angry about the fact that, all of these perceived things had happened to me. And that is the excitement of the alpha or the sigma male. It's trying to make you angry because it's trying to get you from depression or apathy up to actually taking action. It can be fuel for the fire. So it can be very positive. Like, understand all the emotions on that map are not negative. It's not bad. Feeling pride is not bad. It's just not helpful long term for some of the goals that a lot of you have. It has limits on it compared to something like gratitude and appreciation for everyone who's helped you. So it's not bad, but it's just limited. And so anger is limited. It requires energy to keep on burning. Anger also isolates you from other people. Anger is not necessarily very fun to be around because at times anger can seem dangerous, particularly if you fetishize movies like American Psycho, where it's literally violence. That's narcissistic anger and pride. That character was narcissistic, angry, and prideful. That was the point. There's a really good saying from the Buddha that I like. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at somebody else. You are the one that gets burned. And so anger is limited. It's helpful for a little bit sometimes. By the way, you can skip anger. You don't have to go to the anger phase. You can jump straight up to love and joy and all of that. And that can be a process. But even if you're guilty and ashamed and very low down on that map and you feel like you can't do anything and you're depressed, you can climb your way up to love or up to excitement or up to acceptance. How would you do that? You would probably get a teacher or a coach or something. I'm happy to do that. You would join something like the Alcoholics Anonymous program, which is how a lot of people move all the way up to love. The whole point of that program is love and helping people who are depressed and addicted and all of that move up to love. There's a book called A Course in Miracles, which is literally designed to move you up that map of consciousness. My Play to Win video course, I literally say this in the Play to Win video course. I'm talking about this Play to Win video course. I have an entire chapter on the map of consciousness. And one of the things that I say in that chapter is the entire point of this video course and my coaching in general is to move you up the map of consciousness. I want you to feel more happiness, more peace, more love, more joy, all of that stuff. So you can grab my video course. You can pay $1 for that if you would like to. But all of these resources help you move up, but I would rely on other people. You alone are not going to move yourself up the map of consciousness. If you're guilty and ashamed, you alone are not going to suddenly become peaceful and loving. It's going to require someone else to guide you or teach you, and that can take the form of various different people. Even just surrounding yourself by positive people can lift you up. Going and starting a new hobby, getting a cat or a dog or something you're responsible for that will love you unconditionally. Lots of therapists recommend that. That's a very quick way to move yourself up. So anger is a stage, I guess you would say, but it's not a necessary stage. You can skip it. You achieve far more by being peaceful, forgiving, kind, loving, and happy than you do being angry. Having a joy for life or being positive means working on your goals is infinitely easier. You can kind of think about this. Imagine someone, like picture someone in your mind that you hate or you're angry at. Maybe it's a boss or someone like that that you really don't like. What would you do for that person? If it's your boss and you hate your boss, you'd probably just do the bare minimum of what they tell you to do. You'd probably even do what's called malicious non-compliance, which is where they say, hey, I need you to sweep the floors. And you run the broom over it for half a second. You go, fine, I did it. Like you don't even do it properly because you hate them that much. That's what you would do for someone that you're angry at. What about someone that you love, a family member or a romantic partner or your best friend? You'd probably do anything for them. And so that right there is proof that anger or hatred has limits on it, but love or joy or peace is limitless. It's also more long-term sustainable to be loving, kind, grateful, peaceful, happy. And to be very clear, all of these are things that you can slowly work on. A lot of my content, and like I said, absolutely, the Play to Win video course is literally there about, look, it's even called How I Built a Winner's Mindset. It's literally about how to work on your mindset and be more positive, be more grateful, be more connected to the rest of the world. Everything that I'm talking about in this video is in that course. Again, anger burns up very quickly. It's not self-sustaining. It's hard to sustain. It uses up energy. You have to keep making yourself angry. It's draining. You have to keep tuning into the news. You have to keep reading the red pill stuff. You have to make yourself angry continuously. It takes energy. But love or peace or joy or excitement, that's self-sustaining. It keeps itself going without you needing to do anything. Love exists for its own sake. Same with the truth. A lie needs energy to keep propping it up because the truth comes along and says, that's not true. That's a lie. And then you have to explain and rationalize and be like, oh, no. Here's why it's not a lie. You have to defend it. Truth doesn't need defending. Truth just goes, here's the truth. And if someone comes along and says, I don't believe that, the truth goes, okay, you don't have to believe that, but as reality, the truth or reality stands on its own. It doesn't need your defending. People will defend it sometimes, but it doesn't need defending. It just exists. If you argue with the truth, if you argue against reality, you will lose 100% of the time. That's a Byron Katie quote. If you argue with something that's so unbelievably truthful that we just all know it to be true, like I can breathe underwater without any aid. If you say that, the truth doesn't give a fuck if you believe, no, you can't, you need oxygen. The truth doesn't give a fuck whether or not you believe that. You'll go out into the middle of the ocean and you'll believe your lie of, I can breathe underwater without any aids. You'll go deep down and then you'll drown. And reality goes, see, I didn't care if you believed me or not, but it's reality. And so if you don't align yourself with reality or truth, you will be like a lemming jumping off a cliff. And we see that in history with things like, the Germans and Nazi regime, the Soviet Union, all of that kind of stuff. Communism, every fucking time it's been tried. When you align yourself with falsehoods, Reality says, hey, this is the truth. And if you don't believe me, that's fine, but you'll learn. You'll learn pretty quickly and you'll learn pretty powerfully. And so aligning yourself with love and truth and joy and honesty and all of those things, that is self-sustaining. You don't need to keep that up. But anger requires energy, which is why you have to watch motivating videos, a lot of you, to get angry and fired up to go outside and talk to women. You have to motivate yourself to use that anger to go outside and energy to go out there and do it, which is why I say do the opposite. Make it so easy. Give yourself permission to suck. Just do a tiny little baby step. Focus on what you can do, even if all you can do is go outside and think about talking to women, but you can't do it yet. Don't even worry about motivation. Delete the whole conversation about motivation or firing yourself up or willpower or any of that. You don't need that. Make it so unbelievably effortless and easy that you will love doing it. And then you don't need willpower. I haven't used willpower or discipline or motivation for fucking years. Why would I need those things? I want to do the things that I love. And so I make the things that I'm working on very easy so they're effortless and sustainable. And I focus on gratitude and all of these very motivating energies rather than anger or motivation or force or will or any of that. You don't need that stuff. The final thing I'll leave you with that's sort of an obsession in alpha male and sigma male fantasies is the fantasy of revenge. There's entire subreddits dedicated to revenge. There's r/petty revenge. There's a bunch of other revenge subreddits. And I think a lot of people love the idea of revenge. You know, you love the victim narrative. People want to get revenge. I think people are slowly getting sick of it, but not really. But people want to get revenge on Russia. All Russians are bad. We got to get revenge on them. I think, is it Israel that's the supposedly bad one right now? I don't even know. I can't keep track of this nonsense, but I think it's Israel that's the bad one. And so people want to get revenge on them and sanctions and hatred and all of this and fuck that. If you let go of this entire concept of yourself as judge, jury, and executioner, which can only be narcissistic vanity, imagine the vanity to say that I am God, I am the judge. If you let go of that, and let go of the need for revenge and replace that with compassion, forgiveness, and understanding, realizing that what you thought happened didn't. Forgiveness is realizing that what you thought happened didn't. You just didn't fully understand the situation. People had hidden determinants of their behavior. People were doing something for a reason that maybe you didn't have all of the information as to why they were doing it. But if you focus on compassion and forgiveness, it's a faster route to your goals and success. Let the world worry about itself. Leave all of that to the universe or to God or the powers that be or whatever, and focus on what you can control. Don't worry about revenge. Don't worry about what the rest of the world is doing. Focus on peace. Understand that peace and happiness and joy are a choice. The reason that I sit here making these videos, feeling so much peace and love and happiness, is not because I have stuff or because I've done stuff. It's because I've made a conscious choice to choose peace in every moment. And a lot of the time, that means letting go of my vanity and my ego and that little part of me that wants to judge other people and get revenge. And this person fucked me over, so I got to fuck them over. It is a conscious choice to let go of that. And sometimes that's a difficult choice. But it leads to peace, happiness, joy, and more success, and a feeling that the entire world is with you rather than there's a whole bunch of people trying to fuck you over. There's a really good quote by the Buddha that says, forgive others, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. And if you can live your life by that, holy fuck. Obviously, if any of you are religious and Christian, the Bible has so much about forgiveness. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Turn the other cheek. When Jesus was on the cross, he looked up at the heavens and said, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. You know, there's all of this message in Buddhism, in Christianity, in a lot of religions about forgiveness. These people, you know, these teachers that these religions or teachings are based on, they didn't just say this shit for no fucking reason. These were people that spent their entire lives dedicated to the truth, to compassion, to honesty. And they came to see that forgiving others, really, you're doing that for you. Realizing that there's nothing even to forgive in the first place. Holy fuck, that's a later, more advanced teaching that may or may not resonate with you. But, you know, I'll leave you with one final quote there from the Buddha. To be angry is to let others' mistakes punish yourself. You holding on to anger, you think, or holding on to this fantasy of revenge, you think that you're going to fuck other people over. No, you're just fucking yourself over. And so if you can let that go and let bygones be bygones. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. All of these beautiful sayings, if you can embrace those, you start to see that the world is a kind place instead of a place where everyone's trying to fuck me over and I have to get revenge, blah, blah, blah. Let all of that go. And then what you will do is you will no longer put up with people that maybe have malicious intentions for you. When you let go of revenge and the drama and the vanity of anger, the world becomes more peaceful because you don't accept anger anymore. I mean, you notice it and have compassion for it, but if someone's angry, rather than letting them fuck you over, you just move on and don't let that person in your life. And you go, oh, I learned a lesson. Cool. That person tried to screw me over. Maybe I can even say they did screw me over. Cool. I just won't hang out with them anymore. Okay, next, please. Who can I hang out with next? And you screen for people that have a positive influence on your life, and you eventually surround yourself by positive people who want the best for you. And the concept of revenge falls away. Understand revenge is a dance that requires two people. Anger, pain, and suffering are dances that require two people. It requires you to consent to continuing to be fucked over. You're fucking yourself over when you obsess about revenge. And so if you can let all of that go and say, some people just don't really know what they're doing, and maybe they didn't mean to hurt me. Maybe they did. And there's reasons why they did. They're probably not having the best life if they're trying to go around and hurt other people. I think I would just have compassion for them, and I'll move far away from them and spend time with people that want me to be happy. And I'll just ignore that person and not have them in my life. You move on. You don't even think about it. I will finish up. Like I said, I got a coaching call in 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to go to that on time. So if you would like more help with any of this, probably the best thing to start with, like I said, if you don't have very much money, grab the Play to Win video course. You can donate whatever you would like to me for that. Even if that's just $1, you can pay more if you want to. I also have $200 coaching calls that are available, one per person. And I have a hardcore 12-week coaching program where we talk about this and many other things. I'll leave links in the description below to all of that. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there, work on those goals, have a great time. And I promise you are allowed to be a non-sigma male. You're allowed to be a fucking beta male if you want to. You're allowed to be whoever you want to be. You don't have to compare yourself to fictional movie characters who don't even exist. You are you. Go be the best you that you can be.